Good morning, afternoon, or evening. My name is Daryl Horton, and I am the Information and Knowledge Management Officer for Marine Corps Tactics and Operations Group in 29 Palms, California. And in this presentation, I'd like to discuss one of the many futures of information and knowledge management for the Marine Corps. Born in 1753, Sun Tzu was a Chinese military general, strategist, and philosopher during the Zhou dynasty's spring and autumn period, a period in Chinese history that took place from approximately 771 until 476 BC and was comprised of three sub-periods: the Age of Regional Cultures from 771 BC to 643 BC, the Age of Encroachments 643 BC to 546 BC, and the Age of Reforms 546 BC to 403 BC. Sun Tzu's philosophies are referenced even by today's military strategists. According to Sun Tzu, if you know the enemy and know yourself, you need not fear the result of 100 battles. If you know yourself, but not the enemy, for every victory gained, you will also suffer a defeat. And if you know neither the enemy nor yourself, you will succumb in every battle. It is at the knowledge of self where we can find ourselves at our weakest. And it is this gap where the future of information and knowledge management can be the most effective. So the purpose, again, for this presentation is to provide you with an idea of what the future holds for the military, specifically the Marine Corps, in the execution of information and knowledge management. I'm going to start off by giving you the bottom line up front. Then I'm going to roll into a little bit about superiority, what it is and how we achieve it. I'm going to talk a little bit about the revolution in military affairs. And then I want to present to you what I'm calling the information and knowledge management revolution in military affairs, which for me is the next phase in RMA. Change is continuous, and the Marine Corps has continued to experience many changes since the start of OIF and OEF. Today's Marine Corps is defined differently than it has been in previous years. Some of the things this new definition is framed by include things such as multinational operations, the technological advancements that we are currently experiencing in today's Marine Corps, the specific need for continued improvements in command and control, art, and science, an increased number of information channels and tools combined with the seemingly endless places where information is generated and stored, and the Force Structure Review Group, which for the Marine Corps is a drawdown in forces. Okay, the Marine Corps is going to execute the same mission, but with less people, money, and equipment. So the future of information and knowledge management resides in our ability to leverage information and knowledge, which resides not only in an attempt to fully realize such operational concepts as network-centric operations, or NCO, decision dominance, and decision superiority, to name a few, but it also resides in our ability to deal with the ever-increasing forms and stores of information resulting from the information age revolution in military affairs. The future of IKM is in helping the Marine Corps realize the "we can do more with less" attitude. It's all about connections, those specific type of connections that allow an inferior force, and in this case, inferior refers to the fact that there is a drawdown in forces, so we are executing the same mission with less people, money, and equipment, So the type of connections we're looking for is the type that allows an inferior force to become superior. Superiority is the quality or condition of being superior. Some examples include when we say that we have reached a higher station, a higher rank, higher degree, or higher importance, we are saying that we have become superior officers. A higher grade or quality is the same as saying we have superior merchandise. Greater quantity or an amount is the same as saying we have superior numbers. And something is better or improved, like advanced technologies, we achieve a level of superiority. When things are getting better, we often say things are improving, which means we are achieving a level of superiority. For this discussion, the example I want to use is superior knowledge, which is a state at which we achieve knowledge superiority and can be realized when the condition or quality of our knowledge has changed. That is, when it has become better or improved. This is a change that can be measured as the degree of change, as the word superior denotes a higher degree in an object's condition or quality. The revolution in military affairs has been defined as major transformations in the conduct of warfare that result when technological developments help cause a fundamental alteration in the conduct of warfare. We are now in an age where the revolution in military affairs seek to leverage the power of information and knowledge for the execution of command and control through improved decision making, which is something we need superior knowledge for, as I covered in the last slide. In order to achieve improved decision making, we need to achieve knowledge superiority. We are currently leveraging the power of information and knowledge through the continued socio-technological innovations, which can be seen in the work being commissioned by the Assistant Secretary of Defense for Research and Engineering, who provides S&T leadership throughout the Department of Defense, shaping strategic direction and strengthening the research and engineering coordination efforts to meet tomorrow's challenges. As cited by DARPA at an event they held, they quoted Mr. Park, who stated, "Our government and our military are creating mountains of data that hold powerful insights on how we can improve our operations." As the Marine Corps continues to change, simply accessing data and information is no longer sufficient to help the enterprise flourish. Marines face the growing need to improve processes, products, and services, all while doing the jobs handled by more people because of the forced drawdown. The future of IKM is about connections. According to Mello, human interaction is critical to meaningful development and learning complex skills, and simple access to data is secondary to relational interactions, which is critical to the learning process or processes needed to survive in a world defined by the aforementioned factors affecting the Marine Corps today. We have to design ways or ways for people to engage in social knowledge relationships. In the future of IKM, we have to focus on 4 areas outlined by Mello. And these areas include understanding who the knowledge sources are, measuring where and how knowledge flows, getting knowledge to flow more rapidly and freely, and reinforcing knowledge with supportive relationships. Sun Tzu said that in order to win battles, we have to not only know the enemy, but we also have to know ourselves. There is a world that exists beneath most organizations. The world we see every day is defined by specific rules of operations. But the way things are truly done is not always seen and does not always exist on paper. In this hidden world, the people we place in specific billets have little known skills that others leverage to accomplish tasks that may otherwise require more man hours than we have to tackle them with. By analyzing how people retrieve information and knowledge, we can reveal what we truly know and how we use what we know to get things done. This information will allow us to leverage the hidden organization to our advantage. In today's Marine Corps, knowledge must flow rapidly and freely from expert sources directly to the people who need it. No one has time to wait around for data. Knowledge is critical, and getting the information needed exactly when you need it is vital to achieving success. So, to thrive, organizations must create democratic and transparent ways to access knowledge resources in house that will help workers find and interact more easily with the knowledge source, who is also their colleague. Technologies can help us create the many connections we need to leverage our hidden organizations. But the real work of leveraging the hidden organization begins by getting to know ourselves better so that we can identify information and knowledge blockades, discover our hidden resources, and expand the flow of information and knowledge between those who know and those who need to know. So here's another question. Would redesigning how we organize the fight improve our capabilities? According to Larry Pruzak, cognitive, social, and physical space are important to the development of communities. Knowledge architecture is defined as designing buildings or knowledge principles that encourage the development of knowledge, networks, and technologies. The focus is on fostering cross-cognitive capabilities. Knowledge, we all know, is the product of the human brain. It belongs to individuals. However, organizational knowledge is the product of interactions. People who like and trust each other are more apt to develop knowledge for the organization, whereas people who do not like and trust each other will have a hard time working together and producing knowledge for the organization. This essentially means the organization's ability to leverage the power of information and knowledge relies in its ability or in the ability of the organization to develop social networks, but not just any network. Networks comprised of cognitively diverse members are much more effective than networks leveraging some other type of diversity. In accordance with the knowledge architecture concepts of designing buildings that encourage the development of knowledge, networks, and technologies, another question I have to ask is, would a design that supports the imitation of brain functionality be a better design for combat operations centers and command posts? Like any good operations center, the brain is a central location in the human body for receiving information and from which commands are distributed. Developing a better understanding of how the brain develops networks, processes information, and develops knowledge could serve as a sort of blueprint or guide for improving our operations centers. Now, we've discussed the need to leverage human capability. We've also discussed the need to redesign our operations centers, or at least to give it some thought on redesigning our operations centers based on brain functionality. Now let's talk a bit about aligning human capability with the mission of the organization. And so the question here is, should we assign billet positions based on human capability? There are general differences between men and women and specific differences amongst all people. These differences can make you better at one thing and terrible at another. Many organizations in the civilian sector use personality tests to identify the type of people that are better suited for their organization. This ensures the organization has the right people in the right position in order to achieve the right effects. So we're taking this approach to billet assignments, improve command and control for the Marine Corps. According to the University of California, In general, men have approximately 6.5 times the amount of gray matter related to general intelligence than women, and women have nearly 10 times the amount of white matter related to intelligence than men. Gray matter represents information processing centers in the brain, and white matter represents networking of or the connections between these processing centers. The University of California goes on to say that men tend to excel in tasks requiring more local processing, like mathematics, while women tend to excel at integrating and assimilating information from distributed gray matter regions in the brain, such as required for language faculty. 84% of gray matter regions and 86% of white matter regions involved with intellectual performance in women were found in the brain's frontal lobes, compared to 45% and 0% of males, respectively. The gray matter driving male intellectual performance is distributed throughout more of the brain. According to the researchers, this more centralized intelligence processing in women is consistent with clinical findings that frontal brain injuries can be more detrimental to cognitive performance in women than in men. In summary, we discussed a few things related to the future of information and knowledge management for the Marine Corps. My bluff is that the future of information and knowledge management is in helping the Marine Corps realize the "we can do more with less" attitude. It is about making connections, human connections, social connections, so that any degree of improvements we achieve in the content of our operations leads to some level or realizing some level of superiority, which for this discussion is really focused on achieving knowledge superiority. So that the revolution in military affairs, which was brought on by technological developments which changed the way we conduct warfare, transitions to the next phase in which is the information and knowledge management revolution in military affairs, which is about designing and leveraging social networks in order to harness the power of information and knowledge, which brings us back to the human. And so the focus of much of what we have been doing to improve our content of operations has really been focused on technological advancements. And what I am saying in this discussion is that we need to now shift to improving our human assets, those men and women in uniform serving in harm's way.